ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਵੇ। Morena, welcome to the show, Ginny Anderson. Kite piha koe?
Kia ora, kei te pai. How are you?
Kite pai ahu. Jeannie, I can easily understand that it's been a long day for you guys actually yesterday, just because of the budget. So, what is your take on budget if you look at the overall picture?
Well, the main takeaway we see is that this budget is being funded by taking wages away from hardworking New Zealand women. We've always been a country that's been really proud to strive for equality, whether that be through our genders or ethnicities. And so we feel very strongly that this budget should not be paid for by hardworking women in New Zealand.
Yeah, I can easily smell your statements even yesterday when Chippy was actually addressing to the national media. In the meantime, what is Labour's position on the current government's approach to crime and policing?
Well, we would like to see those 500 police they promised delivered. They've set themselves a deadline of 500 more police by, I think, November 28th of this year. So far, they have, I think, 17 of those 500 police. So it's highly unlikely that they are going to deliver on their promise of 500 more police. We know that people are already frustrated when they call the police, when they've been either stolen from or had a burglary, and that police don't come. If we are going to have a police service where people get the support they need to be able to deliver on that promise.
Addressing the root cause, have you heard anything from the Police Minister, Mark Mitchell, lately about the boot camp?
No, but there's more funding in this budget for those areas, for boot camps. But we do know from the research that boot camps don't work. In fact, from that pilot, I think there were 10 young people that went into that pilot, and unfortunately two of them escaped and one lost their life in a tragic accident. And then I think it is we think 8 of those have gone on to reoffend and commit more crime. But that's not been verified. That's been hard to get any information out of this government as to what the success rate is. All the research shows that boot camps don't work, and so we don't think that's a good investment of taxpayers' money.
Do you think our police officers having enough resources at this stage?
No, they do not. It's positive that this this budget has more for police, but we know that just alone in terms of buildings, IT, all of that extra infrastructure that help police respond quickly, that is not in place. Police are asked to do more and more, but the resourcing has not been adequate to date. So I really hope that this additional funding helps police to be able to respond quicker. It's interesting that Chris Cahill from the Police Association has commented that money will just about cover inflation. So it's still tight for police.
There's a clear rise in living cost in New Zealand. We are such a small nation, and we always ask for more manufacturing units in the country so that we can generate more jobs and a basic income for our communities out there. So what is Labour's plan if they are in the government in the next election? What is your plan for generating more jobs?
We know that we've done some excellent work in the back in helping people get into employment. And so that's what's missing from this budget. It's making it harder for 18 and 19-year-olds to get support. It takes away the job seeker benefit. But there's nothing in here in training or extra skills, apprenticeships, any of that work that helps young people to be able to get a good job and hold that job down, to be able to be a good employee, turn up, have the skills that they needed to do. I'm really interested as being the spokesperson for jobs and income to look at how we get our people working to increase productivity, and also how we generate higher paid jobs. We know there's a lot of New Zealanders that take up work in good areas, but they've got the ability and the skills to step up and do more than what they're currently employed to do. We want to see people taking up those opportunities. It means they get more money in their pocket each week, but it also grows our economy and helps those businesses do better trade.
So how about the lower income brackets? I mean, the people living in that particular bracket, they have been left behind?
They have been completely left behind by this budget. In fact, even worse, the benefits or the spend from this budget has come at the detriment of those people. The KiwiSaver changes, for example, they affect lower working people, so they'll have less money to retire on. And so that's a real concern for the long-term planning of our country and how we're going to grow. If I could say anything, this is a very short-sighted budget. It just thinks about the next couple of years, if that. There's no plan, there's no vision, and there's no hope for our future.
I understand. In the meantime, let's talk about the specific policy by Labour Party to support regional employment and small businesses.
We haven't announced our policies yet. They'll be coming as we get closer to the election. But we are very interested in understanding how we can more closely support small business. I was the Minister for Small Business when we were in government, and there was a lot of work going on acknowledging that the majority of business in New Zealand is small businesses. They are the engine room of creating more growth for our country. They generate the income. So we very much need to be looking at how we support small businesses to do better than what they are already. One area I'm really interested in is understanding how we can better support a small business to learn all the opportunities available through selling online, through having better IT capability, better productivity. Sometimes those small business owners are so worried because each day they're just striving to be able to pay the wages and pay the rent and turn up each day to keep things going. To be able to have some forward planning on how they grow their business is where we need to be thinking.
Let's talk about people who are actually underemployed in New Zealand. And are we having any plan in the policies? Maybe you already mentioned it's in the pipeline, but are we planning to support those people to get the long-term employment in this country, or they have to fly across the ditch?
Yeah, we really want to stop so many people going to Australia. We've lost some of our best and our brightest over the last year and a half to Australia, and that's not good for our country and our productivity. One of the schemes that we put in place that this government's kept, and we like it, is called Mana and Mahi, and it takes the unemployment benefit and it pays it to the employer. And we don't talk about that enough, but as employers, you should know that if you take on a person who has been unemployed, the employer gets that unemployment benefit for them for the first year, so they can help to get someone work ready, make sure they've got all the things they need. They might need a little bit of extra time and patience, but that extra funding to the employer helps get people opportunities, and it supports the employer to take someone on.
Do you support this idea, the way they punish the Te Pāti Māori member parliaments recently?
Yeah, it's interesting because at a time when Parliament's going a bit crazy, the rules are really important, that we have rules that everyone sticks by, and that includes national. So the standing orders are very clear about 1 day, 3 days, and then I think that the top level on your third warning, it goes to like 20 something days. But they've jumped to the final stage without prior warning. So there has never been a period of suspension that long in the history of Parliament. And we have some examples of other MPs who have been intimidating and done similar things in the past, and they were not even stood down from Parliament at all. So our concern is that if we have a good, healthy democracy where everyone can challenge ideas, the government shouldn't be banning opposition MPs from coming to the House, particularly in budget week when they're being scrutinised, because that gives a perception that they're trying to just shut down the voices of those who don't agree with them.
I understand. In the meantime, what is your response to the current government's stance on co-governance and treaty principles in legislation?
That's a good question. So, interestingly enough, I worked in the Office of Treaty Settlements. So, a lot of the settlements under Labour and National have co-governance in them, and For example, under national, the Taranaki Maunga, the Mount Egmont, that has a co-governance program in place. That's legislation that was passed under Act National in New Zealand first. Te Arawa Lakes is another example where we have a co-governance structure in place. So we have many treaty settlements operating and in place right around New Zealand that have co-governance structures. So my view is that this issue gets picked up and used as a political football when it suits the government, and more often than not, that's usually the ACT party.
It's just out of blue question actually in my mind. I have seen quite a few protesters outside the parliament yesterday. You want to say something to those people over there about the pay equity or some other issues, what they actually want to address?
Yeah, my heart, it's really devastating for women in New Zealand who have fought in the 70s. When I was born in 1975, we were fighting, and I'll be turning 50 this year. 50 years ago, New Zealand was fighting for women to get fair pay. And it is soul destroying to have this fight again, just so our daughters can be paid fair. We thought we had this fight and we thought we were there. And so the swear words you heard blanked out on the news last night from women my age or older is the sheer frustration that we are being held back. We are being prevented from earning what is rightly ours because this government has not managed to make the books balance. And that's an important point to make, that last election, many economists looked at what National was proposing and said, this doesn't add up. There's a big hole here. How are they going to make this work? And the answer we've seen, they made it work by taking that money out of the pockets of hardworking New Zealand women. And that's not fair.
I know. Just on a lighter note, do you miss Great Barrier Island at all?
I do. I went back there actually, not last Christmas, but the one before. And I took my mum and dad and my family, and we visited the school and school where we used to live. So, and it's funny because, you know, when you're a child and you remember something and it's really beautiful and amazing, and then sometimes you return and it's not quite the same, it looks smaller or different. Well, it was just as beautiful as I remembered it. All the memories were just as wonderful. I'd highly recommend someone to take a trip there. It's a beautiful part of New Zealand.
Yeah, Ginny, this country is actually, always thankful to the migrant communities. So looking at that perspective, do you believe New Zealanders fully understand the treaty's role in our legal and political framework? And how can that understanding be improved?
I think it's important we keep talking about it. I always speak on the basis that, yes, the treaty is a founding document. It's a partnership between the Crown and Te Iwi Māori. But that I see that as a platform, as the foundation, how we treat each other, how we respect each other, how we consult with each other. That relationship sets the scene on how all of our other multicultural relationships will operate on. And if that is based on good faith and respect, understanding, appreciation of the difference between us and celebrating that difference, that is a great platform for the rest of our country to flourish. Because difference should be celebrated and appreciated. We shouldn't be expected to conform.
The coalition government always keep telling us that not many ram raids as compared to the last year. But I can see, I'm in Papatoe, and I could see last week there's another ram raid to my one of my brother from India. So what is your take on that? I mean, what is the root cause, and how do we address these root causes if you are in the power?
So when I was the Minister of Police, ram raids peaked at about 130 a month. It was high. And through one program which we ran, which was really targeting those repeat offenders, we brought it right down to about under 30 a month. And it's stayed quite low. So by targeting those youth offenders that are repeating is really the way you get to the heart of this. Really concerning to see that ram raid. I saw that report come through, and I know how I've spoken to those business owners where their home is part of the business, and it must be devastating to have that happen and really quite frightening, to be honest. I will say that one part of this budget says that 18 and 19-year-olds can't get the job seeker benefit.
That's right.
For their parents to do that. Many of those young people don't have parents who look after them and care for them. So there is a real risk by taking away that support and not providing any skills or training or assistance. I worry that that increases the negative components in youth offending and young people. We need to be encouraging services that enable mental health support, family violence support, skills, all of those positive things that give young people something to focus on. Simply taking the benefit away and saying it's your responsibility of your mum and dad is not going to help the situation at all.
So last but not least, what is happening in your electorate?
In my electorate, there's always good things going on in the Hutt Valley. We have a really vibrant multicultural society in the Hutt, and I love participating in local events. What have I been to lately? I'm going to actually, my daughter's performing in a dance exhibition that's held at Sacred Heart in their, it's called The Studio. So the girls from right across the whole range and boys of different schools come together. And I'm really hoping that urgency is over by 6 o'clock tomorrow night, because I would very much like to go along and see her perform on stage.
Wonderful. That's what we love about you. You are a people's personality, and keep it up. Kia kaha. Thank you very much for this corridor.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Excellent. You keep up good work. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye. ਦੋਸਤੋ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਨੀ ਐਂਡਰਸਨ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੱਟ ਵੈਲੀ ਤੋਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਸੀ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਜਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੱਖੀ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਸੰਤੁਸ਼ਟ ਨਹੀਂ, ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਹਿਕਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਪੋਕਸਪਰਸਨ ਨੇ ਲੇਬਰ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਾਮਲਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ, ਫਿਰ ਮਾਮਲਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜੌਬਸ ਤੇ ਇਨਕਮਸ ਦਾ, ਫਿਰ ਮਾਮਲਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਟ੍ਰੀਟੀ ਆਫ ਵਾਈਟਾਂਗੀ ਨੈਗੋਸ਼ੀਏਸ਼ਨਸ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟ੍ਰੀਟੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੌਰੀ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਗੋਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਲੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਸੀ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੈ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਪਰਿਆ, ਕਿ ਤੇਪਾ ਤੇ ਮੌਰੀ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 3 ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਸਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਖਤ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸੁਣਾਈ ਗਈ। ਬੀਇੰਗ ਏ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਇੰਨੇ ਸਖਤ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰ ਦੇ ਮੱਦੇਨਜ਼ਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਹਾਕਾ ਜਾਂ ਵਾਇਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਸਲੀਕਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਪਸੰਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ ਪ੍ਰਿਵਿਲੇਜ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਨੂੰ, ਔਰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੱਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਬਜਟ ਦੀ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੰਕਾ ਜਤਾਈ ਕਿ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ 18 ਤੇ 19 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਬਰੇਟ ਨੇ, ਟੀਨਏਜਰਸ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਮ ਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਸਿਲਸਿਲੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਧ ਸਕੀਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਵਰਕਫੋਰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਸਕਣ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਧ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣ। ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰੈਮਰੇਡਸ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਗੌਰ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਹਤਰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਹਾਲ ਦੀ ਘੜੀ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲੇਬਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਨੀ ਐਂਡਰਸਨ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮਹਿਕਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਬੁਲਾਰੇ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਚਰਚਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਿਨ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਅਗਲੇ ਕੁਛ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮਾਮਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰਾਜ ਸੱਤਾ ਦਾ ਆਨੰਦ ਮਾਣ ਰਹੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ, ਕੋਅਲੀਸ਼ਨ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਗੱਠਜੋੜ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਕਟ ਪਾਰਟੀ, ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਤੇ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀਲੈਂਡ ਫਰਸਟ ਪਾਰਟੀ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਇੱਕ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪਰਮਜੀਤ ਪਰਮਾਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁੱਟ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪਸ਼ਟੀਕਰਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਚੱਲਾਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜਲਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀਲੈਂਡ ਸਿੱਖ ਗੇਮਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਦਲਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਜਲਦੀ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਰਿਵੀਲ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀਲੈਂਡ ਸਿੱਖ ਗੇਮਸ 2025 ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਚਰਚਾ ਹੋਈ।